Hi, R.P. Hi, Ash.
Hi, good evening, Mohit.
Hi,
Mohit. Good evening. Good evening.
Namaste, good evening.
Good evening,
Good
Gaurav.
evening, Gaurav.
Wonderful. We've got people coming in now.
Right.
Welcome, Mahinderji. Welcome, Dhruv. Welcome, Suraj. Welcome, Rajiv, Shankar, Prakash. There are quite a few people who've registered and they're all joining in slowly. We should give them a minute or two.
Sure.
In the meantime, I'll quickly tell you, Hashim, that I'll introduce myself and then you can introduce yourself and RP. And then what we do is let you carry on with your slide presentation and your, whatever chit chat we need to do.
Yeah.
Welcome, Mahinderji. You're still in Mount Abu. Good to see you again. Good evening. Good evening, Dhruvji. We have to give everybody some time because the people sort of coming in. And Shobha's also here. Welcome, Shobha. So, friends, if you've got questions, you need to type them down. In case if there's an internet glitch, I have a system here where it's called panic button, which means that I will reboot the system, but you don't go away anywhere because it will bring you back here. So you don't sign off just in case if there's a problem. And this webinar is all about sustainable management. It is going to be conducted by Hashim and RP. They're old friends of mine. I don't know if some of you are here for the first time in this webinar and you've not attended any of mine before. Let me quickly introduce myself. I'm in the space of conservation travel for about 30 years, founder of Asian Adventures and a Global Wildlife Fair, which is going to happen next year. And I hold the position of Vice Chair in Asian Ecotourism Network. And I conduct these webinars regularly because the goal of this company and of AEN is to bring knowledge sessions on ecotourism and conservation to people like you who are interested. And we've got these two stalwarts here, people who've spent their lives carving out information, policies, knowledge. These are the people who have put ecotourism on the pedestal where it is today. And I'm really, really happy that these two men are here. And they're also old friends of mine. I've known them for over 30 years, both of them, or maybe 35 years. So without wasting much time, I'd like both of them to introduce themselves. And I have a colleague here, Gaurav, who with his team has been working behind the scenes for the longest time. He's also aspiring to be an ecotourism specialist. He's a biologist. Do you want to talk about yourself for a minute or less than a minute, Gaurav, quickly?
Yeah, thanks. Namaste, everyone. My name is Gaurav Nalkur. I'm qualified as a wildlife biologist and currently training to be an ecotourism specialist, like Mohit sir said. So I'm a passionate wildlifer. I'm a passionate birder. But I'm also a strong believer in the thought that wildlife tourism, when conducted responsibly, can be a great goal towards conservation, which is, the reason that I've made the switch over to ecotourism. And for the last 5 years, I've been lucky to work with Asian Adventures and Mohit sir to, try and further myself in this field.
Wonderful. So over to you guys, Hashim and RP.
So RP, do you want to start with? Do you want to start with ISN, and then I can myself, and then I'll do it, and then just introduce the presentation. If you want to do that.
Yep. Thank you, Hashim. Thank you, Mohit. So me and Hashim are co-founders of an organization called ISN, the Indian School of Nature, which came into existence a few years ago. And the core at ISN is to create an open source knowledge platform in the field of climate compatibility and sustainability across domains. So travel is one of the domains in which ISN is active, but we are also active in climate-compatible agriculture, energy, water management, waste, and so on and so forth, all the verticals that make up for planet sustainability. And today we are here to discuss our module on sustainable travel or pathways to sustainability in the Indian jungles, as we like to call it. Over to you, Hashim.
Hi, thanks, R.P. Thank you, Mohit and Gaurav, for organizing this webinar. Just quickly, my name is Hashim Tyabji. I've been in the field of wildlife tourism, which has morphed into conservation tourism since 1978, and amongst other things, worked across India, Nepal, India, Ladakh, etc. And I was a founding partner of a company called Wild India Camps, which opened Range Tiger Reserve with Bagh Vilas, and also Satpura Tiger Reserve with Forsyth's Lodge. In all of these places, I've been a great believer, something that I learned in Nepal in my first company, Tiger Drops, that responsibly conducted wildlife tourism can be a potent contributor to conservation. The key, of course, is that it has to be responsibly done, because we all know that can be abused. Anything can be abused. I have also been a founder director of a company called Kafila Luxury Camps, and we also started the first wildlife lodges in Nepal with the Snow Leopard Lodge in Ule and then in Mangyu. I'm now kind of semi-retired, or I hope to be semi-retired, but have been very privileged to work with R.P. On ISN. He's a pioneering thinker, and it's always an honor and a learning process to be with him. And of course, with Mohit, who's been an old friend and a like-minded colleague and fellow traveler. So very quickly, what this presentation is about is I'm primarily associated, or I'm primarily part of the ISN's team on sustainable travel. We tend to use this word sustainability quite loosely. So what we are trying to do over here is to actually bring it back to what it should be, which is a quantifiable numeric value, so that you don't use, so that we can't, and this is how the international community is actually looking at it. So we can't just waffle about it. It can't become part of the greenwashing vocabulary. One of the things that is happening is, as many of you know, if you've joined this webinar, then I'm sure most of you are pretty well informed about what's happening in the sustainability field of travel. And legislation is coming down the road. The EU has already announced timelines to say that companies, large travel companies operating out of the EU, will have to do Scope 3 reporting. Scope 3 reporting simply means that all their suppliers are also going to have to report their emissions over there. Okay, so all of us who are part of that network, so if any European company is actually buying rooms from us or buying transport from us, we will then have to also do our emissions reporting over there. Okay, and we will also have to do a report which is not just a self-audit; it has to be a certified audit, which is going to talk about our emissions and offsets. How are we offsetting our emissions? Now, this particular thing that we are working, that R.P. and I have been working on with a company called Net Zero, and also with Rare India, is to urge people that, look, legislation is coming down the way. We need to start measuring our emissions. Along with that, sustainability also means your water budgets. It also means how you're dealing with waste. And it also means, of course, your community and conservation values. Now, those are difficult to quantify, but the first three are not easy to quantify, but they can be quantified. They should be quantified. And in fact, they have to be quantified. I think somebody who works for Rare India or who is an associate of Rare India is actually coming out with a guidebook in which only lodges which are actually reporting their emissions targets are going to find a place. So, this is not something in the future, it's happening. What we've done is, of course, as lodge managers, as lodge owners, operators, we actually sat back and thought about the complexity of actually reporting emissions, of reporting sustainability. How do we quantify it? How do we actually reduce what we do to numeric values? And RP did something very interesting. He quantified this during COVID at Chambal Safari Lodge, which many of you, I'm sure, know about. And that has formed the basis of a presentation that we have adopted, in which you can basically put in, your various values, the various items from which emissions are generated, your carbon dioxide equivalent emissions are generated. You put in a number and it spits out what your carbon emissions are. So it's a very useful, a very simple tool. It takes the complexity out of this and it makes it very, very usable for lodge managers or owner managers to actually sit down literally on an afternoon, on a Sunday afternoon, go through their balance sheets, go through their account books, and actually get a pretty accurate snapshot of what's been happening in their lodges over time. One of the reasons we've chosen wildlife lodges to start with, because it's low-hanging fruit. Most wildlife lodge owners at least pay lip service to the concept of sustainability. Most of them tend to be on board already. Secondly, most of them in relation as a ratio of built footprint have quite a large area of open space. Some of the older lodges actually went in for landscaping, but most of the newer lodges actually go for rewilding, which allows you to then actually measure on an indexed, which is already fed into this Excel sheet, into this toolkit. You can measure what how much land you have under woodland, how much land you have under grassland, how much land you have under scrub, and you reduce that to hectareage. You put that number into the sequestration. So there are two Excel sheets. One is on emissions, the other is on sequestration, and you get at the end of it, you will get your carbon budget. How much are you emitting? How much are you sequestering? So how much are you offsetting within your own property? And what we are finding is that most of our lodges are actually sequestering more than they are emitting. This is good news, but it needs to be reported. It needs to be properly audited. It needs to be properly reported. It needs to be certified. So this is what this is going to be about. Without further ado, I'm going to pass this on to RP. RP is going to go through a quick presentation on emissions and water budgets. I will simply do a very quick presentation on waste, which is common sense. Most of you, I'm sure, are familiar with it. So it's basically just a quick, revision of what we do. And then I will go back to a very, very simple, illustrated primer on how to use these Excel sheets. So basically, after this webinar, you can, send us a message, send Mohit or Gaurav or RP or myself a message and say, can you just email us the link to your ISN website, which will allow you access. It's free to use, by the way. The Scope 1 and Scope 2 tools are free to use. Scope 3, which is the more complicated stuff, which will take you to the final audit and then the certified report, that has a very nominal paywall built into it because the costs are quite high. Over to you, RP.
Thank you, Hashim. So taking this forward, I'm going to do two things. One, using the Chambal example, I'm going to define sustainability across 5 pillars or verticals, as I call them, of sustainability. And B, then go on to the carbon and water balance sheets and play it out here and see how it works in a very simple fashion for the lodge owners and the lodge managers. So let me now connect to the screen.
RP, there is screen share, but
Right.
you can see an icon which has screen share.
Yeah. So this says
So
allow
you
to
need to
share
click that.
window or allow to share screen. So allow to share screen
I
is
guess
what I
so.
click.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Try.
And choose content to share. So it says large, small.
No, where are you? Are you looking at an
Share.
icon that's like a TV, like a screen?
Yeah. So I clicked on share screen, and then a small
Yeah.
window opened up and says choose
Yeah.
content to share. Then there are three
Yeah.
options: off, small, large. So should I choose large?
Choose medium to be in the safe side. Just go ahead and do it, and let's see what happens. Anything happening?
Yeah. Is the screen getting shared? No. Are you guys able to
No.
see the screen?
No, we can't see.
Oh, okay. Now I'm getting a hang. Just give me 1 minute. Sorry. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
we're getting there.
So you're getting multiple
Yeah.
windows telescopic. Okay, just undo it and then try the other option.
So back on this and then share screen. Allow to share screen. And small.
Try once.
Yeah. Now
I think
yeah. Now it's just going to be 1 more second. Yeah. Is my
Are you
screen
still getting multiple? No,
get-
you're still getting multiple screens. So try
I
the
think
third
you'll have to
option.
minimize your Chrome, your web browser, whichever it is. Yeah, now we can see the
You can
five
see this?
pillars of sustainability.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Gaurav. So quickly to define, I mean, it's so important to define sustainability in a numerical manner and in a scientific manner. And the 5 pillars at what we devised at ISN are air, and we can measure what we do to the air around us by way of carbon, by way of sound, by way of light. Second is water, which can be measured by what kind of pollutants are being created, and secondly, the quantity being consumed. Third is land in which we operate our lodges, and this module is specifically directed towards wildlife lodges across different landscapes in India. And so what we do to our land in terms of what chemicals we use, what materials we use. The fourth pillar is community, what kind of wealth and well-being we are able to generate for the people around us. And that is also quantifiable. And the last one, conservation of the natural and the built and the intangible heritage around us. This is a little difficult to quantify, but and it will vary from landscape to landscape. But using the Chambal example, I'll very quickly come to what we tried doing at Chambal Safari Lodge. Over 25 years, we rewilded some 30 acres of land, and as a result, the absolute carbon offset is about 11.45 tons per annum, and divided that by the total number of room nights, you come to your carbon offset per room night. And the basic premise here is that we are transferring the benefit of this to the guests, that when the guest comes in, that is the incentive that we have for working towards carbon sequestration or climate positivity. And this is what just an illustrative photograph of Chambal Safari Lodge in 1999 before the rewilding started, and what it looks like today in 2023. Similarly, we look at calculating our energy consumption, and here we are at 59 units per room night, and the globally acceptable norm for rural or wilderness properties is about 100 units. So we are way below that. We are our net rainwater harvest is about, so we have 52-acre lodge area, including the farm, and our rainwater harvest is about 50.5.4 million liters per annum. And water positivity per room night is close to almost 45,000 liters. So these are the two pillars. And then land, we are completely chemical-free property using all natural products in every single department of the lodge. And that has been detailed out further. It's not just about zero plastics, but so many other things. And the biggest culprit in any hospitality operation are the cleaners, what we use in the laundry, what we use in the toilets. And here is just an illustrative list of some of the suppliers who are able to provide sustainable organic solutions to these issues. So when we sort of minimize on the input side the chemicals that go into our waste systems, then the output, it becomes much easier to manage and control and recycle the output. And of course, how we build our lodges is also important. So that when the new lodges are coming up, what kind of materials they are using. So we have set some standards for that. All are available in detail on our ISN portal under Travel Sustainable. And the fourth pillar, this is where a lot of greenwashing happens, where when we talk about communities or the people around us, and lodges tend to say that, oh, we're working with the community and we are generating jobs, etc. But there are no numbers. For this also at ISN, we've come up with a formula where looking at the balance sheet of the lodge over the last 3 to 5 years, you have to define what is local. And once you have defined what is local, which is within 10 to 15 kilometers of the lodge, once that expenditure is defined, it is very simple for your accountant to bring out the exact number that goes back into the local community. And that's, in our case, it came to average at about 67%. And of course, for conservation, it is very difficult to quantify. It will vary from landscapes to landscapes. And when here we are in isolation, when there are multiple lodges, how does one particular lodge take credit for the conservation efforts? But just to give you an example, when we started in the Chambal Sanctuary about 25 years ago, in the tourism zone that we operate in, there used to be 1 nesting site for gharials. Now, last year's census put that number at 5. So the habitat is doing well. The signature species, which is the gharial and the Gangetic dolphins, are doing well. So the lodge or the ecotourism operation over the years definitely hasn't caused any damage to the ecosystem that it was meant to protect. So now from here, I would actually want to move on to the carbon balance sheet, which is the interesting thing to do. It's like it has data in a very simple format, no rocket science here. So let's say we start from on the emission side and we look at where all the emission comes from. First is your electricity, which is scope 2. We are buying electricity. So all what you, as a lodge owner, you need to do is to take your electricity bill, the total rupees amount you have paid in a year. What is because in each state, the price per unit of electricity varies. So you put in that price, like you can see the two numbers here. If you change these, your quantity of electrical units comes in, and then automatically it gives you the number of tons of carbon that your electricity consumption is causing to be emitted. Then you come on to the scope 1 in terms of what all we're doing at the lodge, and in some of the lodges we are probably burning some campfire wood. So you just need to put in the quantity of wood being burnt per annum, and you have your total carbon emission. Then we move into the kitchen areas where we have tandoors operating on coals and LPG gas, and you just have to put in your actual number of LPG consumed or the coal burned, and that gives you your emission from that. Next emission comes from the safari vehicles and the boats and other pickup drop vehicles that we use at the lodge. So we just have to calculate the annual as in expenditure on the fuel, and from that we get to the carbon emission that is coming because of those activities. A lot of lodges, because they are in remote areas, grid supply is restricted, so they have to operate generators under extreme weather conditions. And so your annual fuel bill for the generator when you put it into this sheet here, will give you your total carbon emission because of the generator option. And all this gets added automatically onto your carbon emission sheet. All these numbers get picked up, and you have your total carbon emission, which in our case is about 64.8 tons per annum. Then we move on to the sequestration side, which Hashim briefly touched upon. Now, this will vary from landscape to landscape. It's a little tricky, but yes, there are sort of global norms available which we can apply to our lodges. And in this case, let me go into slight more detail. So you classify your land at the lodge into different categories. And the highest category sequestration comes from a rewilded woodland, which is more than 20 years old. And if you put in the hectarage under that area, which there is a primer tool available on the ISN Foundation website, which tells you how to calculate using Google Maps, how to calculate the various areas on your lodge. And so in this case, let's say at our place, it's 8 hectares. And so our carbon sequestration figure from the thumb rule formula comes to 48.4 tons per annum. And similarly for grassland and scrubland areas, which are more than 5 years old, you put in the hectareage and you get your carbon sequestration. And then if you have some farm areas around which you are cultivating, so there's a certain number for that also, a lot less. So you have your actual sequestration number here. And this then goes on to your balance sheet. So the balance sheet looks at your total carbon sequestration, your total emissions, and then your net footprint, which in our case, we are climate positive or carbon negative, and we are sequestering close to 11.44 tons per annum. And that, as I talked earlier, translated per room night, because the benefit of this sequestration has to be passed on to the guest who's coming to our lodges. And so that's about 9.5 kilos. So this is very, very simple to use, and in a very quick snapshot, it gives you an idea about where you stand, and this is as per the global norms. So this is the first step towards at least measuring what we are doing, and then we look at whether how we need to improve upon, how we need to bring down the carbon emissions, and on a similar pattern is the water balance sheet. And here again, we're looking at water consumption from various sources at the lodge. And then we are looking at the water harvesting. So a lot of lodges are doing rainwater harvesting. And if they're not, there is a great opportunity here to carry out rainwater harvesting at the lodges in a very inexpensive fashion and with no real high technology being involved. And once you start doing that, you will realize the amount of water recharge that you do is probably a few hundred times or tens of times more than water that you are consuming at the lodge. And so that, similar to the carbon balance sheet, you can actually prepare your water balance sheet also, and you'll be very pleasantly surprised to learn how much water recharge per room night that you are contributing to your microenvironment. And of course, then, so this covers the two of the verticals, the air and land. And in air, Hashim, I would request you to briefly touch upon the sound and the ambient light part of air pollution also. And then, of course, so over to you, Hashim, now to talk about the waste and how waste can be managed, segregated, reduced, and then recycled. Over to you.
Thanks, RP. Hi, Gaurav. So I already have my waste and its management slideshow loaded. Do I just hit start?
Yeah, you can just hit start presentation.
Okay. Hi, can you all see that? Yeah.
That's it.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. So let me just RP left the tail of air, light and sound for me. I don't think any of us need to waste time on that. We all understand that sound pollution in India, including in the very remote parts of our wildernesses, has become a major issue. And I was actually really kind of bemused. We live in Bandhavgarh for quite a lot of the time. I've had a home for a long time. And, Shadi Wadi ke liye, there is a lot of noise. We all know what's happening. But there's a new lodge that has been built on the other side of the village. Quite a nice lodge. They spent a lot of time in trying to be sustainable. But one of the things they've had to do is to actually put in soundproofing into their their sort of cabins. I mean, that's extraordinary. Here we are in this most remote wilderness, but people need to have soundproofing. What this excessive sound pollution is doing to wildlife is hard to quantify and hard to understand. I don't know what studies have been done on this, but certainly it is a massive polluting issue for the human communities that inhabit that area. Light is easier to quantify. We all know that there are many insects that actually require complete darkness. The most dramatic of them is, the beetle that we call the firefly. And if there is light pollution, then actually their mating behavior, the mating ecology is badly affected, and their numbers are falling worldwide. And one of the contributing factors is hypothesized. I don't know if there is actual, definitive proof, but is hypothesized to be light pollution. In any case, light for wildlife, which is adapted to operate in nocturnal conditions, too much external light is not a good thing. And one of the things that we urge wildlife lodges is please, please, please manage your external lighting systems really effectively. Pathway lights, for so many years, we were absolutely fine with small hurricane lamps, or, which can be operated on diesel lamps. They put out, they look good, they give a very little amount of light. They're just enough to light the pathways. There's nothing wrong with them. Or very, very, almost zero wattage LED bulbs, whatever it is. I don't know what the wattage is, but just a little bit of LED or solar bulbs. Equally, people like to be dramatic and put lights up into trees. You're doing a huge amount of damage to nocturnal wildlife, especially the microenvironment out there. I think everybody is pretty much aware of that, so I won't waste time. Let me just go quickly on to lodge waste management and this thing. So the key here is to manage what comes in, and then whatever is unavoidable that comes in, how do we manage that? So basically, the idea of waste is that it should not go to landfill. So waste is not waste until it goes to landfill. So essentially, we think of waste in three kinds. Organic waste. Again, you all know what that is. The key is kitchen waste. So organic waste, all of organic waste, including oils, can be composted. Okay, so that is something that we need to look at. Inorganic waste, of course, what is recyclable, what isn't recyclable, and non-recyclable waste. Both of these can actually be reduced through a variety of measures, and I'm just going to quickly go through them. And again, I'm not trying to preach to the converted. This is a revision for people who just want to have a rethink about this. One of the interesting things that we discovered in Bandhavgarh was that Taj has actually got a tie-up with, this is Taj Safaris, have a tie-up with a company that takes up all the electric waste, and they are very happy to share those contacts with any other lodges. So if any of you are operating in areas where there is a Taj or Taj associated lodge, please get in touch with them and see who and how their electrical waste is being generated. Because as we all know, that is, a lot of it is recyclable. I think something like 55% or 60% is recyclable out of electrical waste. So, it can be reused, and it reduces a huge amount of quite toxic content into landfills. Packaging is one of the most visible items of waste generation. We all use, unthinkingly, we use Tetra Paks for juices and for milk. We use foil-lined packets for snacks, for nylon tea bags for premium tea, foil-lined packets and the tea bags come in foil-lined pouches, as does coffee, as does sugar. I mean, this is polluting, right up and down the supply chain, from the point that aluminium bauxite is mined to that enormous carbon and environmental footprint that has been caused over there, to the time it is actually being disposed of. So one of the things that we've done in our lodges is that we've completely removed all packaged tea, coffee, sugar, milk, juices. We don't use any of that anywhere. And it's actually surprisingly easy to find very good and actually better alternatives, because you're using loose leaf tea, you're using good coffee, you're using sugar, which is just everything in airtight containers, and milk, fresh milk from a local supplier, which just goes into the fridges in the area. And juices, I don't even understand why people are using packaged juices, even if they're sending it out for a packed lunch or a packed breakfast, because it's so very easy to have fresh juices, seasonal fresh juice, which is sent in a glass or a steel container. As R.P. mentioned, one of the most polluting items is toiletries and cleaning products. So one of the things that we have done, and we've done this for a very long time, is simply use no soaps. We don't use those small plastic things with nice little labels on it saying how it is specially made for you and any of that. We simply use really good quality products in very good quality dispensers. In that way, we can buy stuff in bulk, so you reduce packaging and you reduce this constant disposal of small packages and small soaps. And remember, however small a soap thing is, once it's finished, it has to be disposed of. So staff take it and all of that, but it still goes into it's still quite a wasteful way of doing things. Water. When we no longer manage run riders, but when we did, we refused to give mineral water, and then our manager said that this is a big problem and we need to give bottled water because people ask for it. And they say, so I said, fine, charge them at 1,000 rupees a bottle, because that is actually even that is probably a lower end of the cost of actual water, when you take the entire environmental cost of it. And we said, we have a perfectly good filtration system. Come and have a look at it. We get it checked. Come and have a look at the reports. And we post it up, have a look at it. And if you don't like it, if you still don't trust it, well, it's 1,000 rupees a bottle. That's the way it was. And, we didn't always get away with it, but generally sent a message. By the way, a lot of things which previously kabaddi guys didn't take, they are now taking now. So, it's worth actually talking to your local kabaddi and, the local sort of kabaddi accretion center, because they're doing some interesting stuff, including with e-waste. The most intractable problem, of course, is getting our food supplies, because, if we get all our grains, et cetera, then it comes in packages. It's very good for keeping it fresh, and it comes with all the labeling. So in case there's a problem with your food, you can actually show that, you got it from a respectable supplier and all the certifications were there, FSSAI, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not entirely sure how to get around that one, but one idea that was brought up in the Bandhavgarh presentation that we did was that we work with the local farmer produce organizations. Now, these are perfectly legal entities, and to see whether they can supply through perhaps a collective, a purchasing collective of lodges and hotels, or of the hotel association. So that is an idea that is, that has been put out in Bandhavgarh, and let's see how the guys run with it. So the secretary and the president of the hotel association, are actually looking into it, and let's see where that goes. Fruit, vegetables, meat generally tend to be locally available. I still see in Bandhavgarh, I still see good lodges which, heart in the right place, but kind of unthinkingly just send an order into the greengrocer as an example, and say we want this, that, and the other, and he just packs it in single-use plastic bags and sends it off. It's very easy to replace that with good quality, bags that you send out over there. You can have a nice logo out there, a little bit of a marketing message, and put a nice message out there as to how you are sustainable and reuse everything. But I mean, it just makes no sense that we buy locally, but we get it packaged in plastic. This is a simple one. I mean, I think most people have gone beyond that, but it's worth just talking about it. Not using plastic cutlery, crockery, etc. But I know that, I still occasionally see people sending, and cling film and aluminium foil. 90% of that can be replaced with good quality organic baking paper and just a bit of string to tie it, or a rubber band to tie it. Rubber band also adds to waste, but it's better than aluminium foil and cling film. And of course, the use of rechargeable batteries and rechargeable equipment and small solar equipment. I mean, some of this is very good. Even the Chinese stuff is getting better and better. And we can use all of that very easily. Sewage, people who've already built have built. But those who are thinking of expanding, or people who are thinking of rebuilding, well, there's three kinds: grey water, black water, and kitchen. Kitchen is the most difficult to actually treat, by the way. And there are very interesting ways of dealing with kitchen waste, which involves what they call forced treatment, in which you're actually blocking the flow of water and forcing the carried particles to actually sink. And you do this at several layers, and then you take it out in a polishing pond. It is a bit smelly and so on, but it is energy free and a very effective way of doing it. And we've done it in a couple of our lodges. Being water efficient. So the less you put into the system, the less that comes out. So everything is there. Water efficient flush systems, low rain. I mean, there's a crazy thing that's happening, is that we're using rain showers in areas which are water stressed. And unless and until, and even if you're actually recycling that rainwater, you're not actually putting it back into the same use. You're putting it into your kitchen garden, which is okay. But I don't see any reason why we can't tell our guests that, we actually control the flow of water for your showers. You don't need to have a heavy rain shower to have a perfectly decent shower. You can use taps with aerators, easily available on the internet, sprinklers or drip irrigation in kitchen gardens. Try and get away from artificial landscaping and exotic plants. Lawns are actually criminal to use, and they can easily be replaced with wild grasses, which have a much higher sequestration effect than a lawn. And you can actually go onto Google and find out about lawns. So that's the thing on waste. And I think R.P. Unless there's a question, Mohit, Gaurav, I think R.P. is pretty clearly explained how the toolkit can be used. And if people are interested, Gaurav, I've shared with you those 2 Word documents. Sure. We can just send that out. It doesn't need an explanation. I think they're pretty self-explanatory, and they can just be put out somewhere.
I've also shared yours and R.P. sir's email IDs.
Yeah.
So I think if anyone has any questions after this, they can email you directly. or of course they can email. I'll put in my email address as well, and you can email me and I can forward the.
Okay, I've lost everybody.
And you can
Yes,
Okay.
also put in, when you send out a note, just put in the portal definition. isn.foundation is where all this information under Travel Sustainable is available. So the viewers can actually access all this information on isn.foundation.
So this is extremely interesting, Hashim. This morning we had a long meeting with people from Thailand who have converted this into an app in English and in Thai language. But it's good for places in Thailand. And they're offering us to do this in India if we would like. Not easy, but it's something with your help and the kind of work that you're doing, it can be done. There are many questions that people will ask. What is how do we do carbon sequestration in our garden? We've been doing it with vetiver and Gir and in Neher Saibi here in Najibgarh, and it works very, very well, especially for rewilding. And then lots of things that you talked about, e-waste and grey water and all these things. I know under ISN, if one would follow your norms, would be able to convert their lodge into an eco lodge very soon. So what is the method of going ahead with what RP did for a lodge like that in a wildlife area? One just has to sign up with you and you'll handhold and take them further, or do your own thing, like do it yourself.
I've just shared, Mohit, a sort of a do-it-yourself primer as to how to use these tools using actual examples. I've actually used the example of our home in Bandhavgarh, which you've been to.
Yes.
And that's a 6-acre property, which is kind of an average size for most of the new lodges because land is becoming so expensive. And so it is fully illustrated. It is step by step. And I don't know if there's any way of putting the links up, but if you go onto the ISN website, and the link can be provided very easily, that primer will go through literally step by step from the time you actually click the link to the time you go through both the carbon emission measurement, sequestration, how to use the free-to-use Google Earth app on your phone to measure the little micro segments of how much grassland you have, how to use to measure the different land use parts of your property. Once you've got that, as RP said, you just enter that number into the relevant cell, and it will spit out what your carbon sequestration value is at the other end. Okay, now these are self-assessment tools. So it at least gives you a rough idea of where you stand, right? It takes the, because if we say tabiyat thodi kharab hai, but kitni kharab hai? What's your temperature? What's your blood pressure? What's your heart rate? I mean, what's going on with you? So this is what this is. It gives you that. Then you have, so this is scope 1 and scope 2, which are things which are directly involved with you and that are proximate to your operations. Scope 3 is the complicated one, for which you have to go through a paywall. And all of that is on the website, and you log in. It's the main thing that people need to get through, or people may want to get onto right now, is free to use. The primers are there; they're fully illustrated. I think they're pretty obvious and easy to use.
So that's fantastic. I think it's one workshop that we really need to do, where we need to call people, in a hall, sit them down. I don't know if it can be done over 2 days, 3 days, literally handhold, and maybe you need to train more people to take this work further. because it's the need of the hour. We are losing things at a very rapid pace, and we need to address this. There are lots of people. Now, this particular webinar that we've done, Hashim, will be repurposed on many, many platforms. And here we need to have, so like you said, that there is a website and that will help. When people get on to phase 3, that's when they have to pay, because that's complicated. But phase 1 and phase 2 are not complicated. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
Okay, good. So at least they can get started, get involved with you. Do you have a community that you would be able to, where you would be able to offer help to people with questions and with information over a period of time?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a WhatsApp group. It's called Pathways to Sustainability. At the moment, it is only the people who came to Bandipur on September the 19th. But it's completely open to anybody, really. And
okay, wonderful.
We're very happy to answer questions. And you know, Mohit, R.P. and I have been discussing this, and including with Gautam Shiknes, who's the boss of Net Zero, who's a very important partner in this endeavor. I mean, for instance, it's not complicated, and if somebody has a question, we don't even have to have a big classroom or 2-3 day workshop. Just call us, call any one of us, and we'll just go through the system with you. It's that simple to use.
Okay, that's good to know. That's fantastic. And I think it's it has multiple benefits. Number one, your lodge starts to work differently for people. It makes people very sensitive to the environment where they come to. It also converts a regular tourist into an eco-tourist. He goes back with value system that he may want to do things at home. Buying less of this or less of that, or being conscious of. I think it's got a huge amount of impact, positive impact, that we should start addressing at a much larger level. At the Global Wildlife Fair, I would want you to conduct this entire session.
Mohit, just to push that idea, I think R.P. Maybe you should just talk about how this can offset the travel of tourists coming to lodges which are reported and which are climate positive. Do you want to just quickly talk about that?
Yes. So very brief.
Scope 3,
Mohit, what we do now, the next step at ISN is we are looking at the concept of a sustainable itinerary through the wilderness in India. So when we have this community of lodges across different landscapes or wilderness landscapes in India, and we have their numbers, then when, let's say, Asian Adventures, when they have to put in a sustainable itinerary, they would have the exact numbers, and at the end of the itinerary program, they will share with the guests that what the carbon footprint, as in the climate positivity, looks like, what is the water footprint positivity looks like, and similarly the practices and how their travel is actually going to benefit those local communities. And you will have exact numbers to do that. Now that opens up a new domain in travel where European and American travelers are already conscious, and they've started asking those questions. Who would know better than you that when before traveling, they want to know how sustainable is their itinerary. But when we at ISN, when we put this into a matrix and share it with the travel companies, it will take travel in the right direction. And when we all know that when a change, best change happens when it is driven by the market.
I fully agree with you, and it's a beautiful concept. We are going to be on board very soon, and I would like Anjali Bhatri, who's here from Choti Haldwani Corporate Gram Vikas Samiti, which is a very built organization over a period of time, and it's a community-based tourism setup. So we would like homestays there to adopt these methods as well, so that it sort of goes right up to grassroots, and these people will be able to showcase, there'll be a star on their shoulders as well. The idea is to not just do it for yourself, but also start joining dots for smaller operators, smaller lodges, in those areas where they may not be able to do it themselves. So we would be very happy to take this up immediately and spread the word around so that we can have more and more lodges, small homestays, small community-run areas also adopt these principles. That'll be fantastic. We would want this to happen immediately.
That's brilliant, Mohit. That's brilliant. I think we all have to work towards creating a very large community in this segment.
Yeah. So it's a great thought. One last message that, tourism and tourists are getting a bad rap, and in some cases with good reason. But once we do these measurements and once we actually look at the carbon sequestration and, we look at these budgets and these balance sheets, had the message that, that we can also make is that had the tourists not been coming over there, had there no option for tourism in that area, then all those areas that the lodges have protected and rewilded and brought back into wilderness would not have happened. It would have gone back into bare-bone, overgrazed, overused community lands or farmland, with the dust blowing the topsoil away. So the tourist is the incentive for the owner to rewild their property.
It's just that your neighbor needs to be taught as well. Your neighborhood needs to know what you're doing. And dissemination of information is extremely important. This cannot be done in isolation. Every step that you take, you need to have the community around you updated, and they should have the option of walking with you. So otherwise, you'll have pressures built around you anyways. So I think it's a fantastic start. I in fact, last year when I was attending, tourism carbon footprint meeting in Thailand, and I was wondering when are we going to get onto this bandwagon. And thank you for starting this, Hashim and R.P. Please take this lead, and we'll just follow you blindly.
Thank you, Mohit.
Thank you, Mohit.
Wonderful.
So
friends, if you've got any questions to ask, please type here so that I can read them out. Manish Naik says, maybe some of our solutions may be helpful for sustainable tourism. What platforms or initiatives are most effective for reaching eco-conscious travelers who are specifically looking for sustainable travel experiences? I don't know if this is relevant for here, but we can answer that later for you. Then Manish says,
I'll answer a bit of it, Mohit.
Go ahead.
These kind of conscious platforms are in the making. Like the one that Hashim briefly mentioned about 101 sustainable stays in India. So they are in the making, and once you are enlisted on these platforms, there is a possibility that the tourists will start looking at your property. So there is a marketing story as well in this.
Yeah. Manish Naik says some sort of, I don't know what that is, Sugri solar generators. I have no clue what these are. Anyway, so we will have a look at them later. Yogeshji is asking, light pollution is also important, especially if it's astrotourism is also considered. Then light pollution is important to address here. 110%, and I agree with it. Do you have anything to say on this?
No, I totally agree with it. And, in Pench, I think Pench, Maharashtra, they've actually declared a part of the landscape as light pollution free, and to enjoy the night sky is very important. But I think both things, both to enjoy the night sky and perhaps more importantly to ensure that nocturnally adapted species are saved. So
we have major problem in Rajaji with elephants. Elephants, when they walk in the dark, number one is the truck traffic, which is not letting them communicate, and the second is the jarring lights, which are disorienting the elephants, at night, and they are losing their ways, their regular paths on which they tread. So there are many such examples. Sound waves under the sea, which work like dynamites, and they're separating the whales and the mothers and the babies, and the babies are dying of depredation and or hunger. So there are things like that which we have to address. But this particular webinar is path-breaking work. I mean, this sort of work is absolutely path-breaking. We need to take this further into every corner of the country. RP and Hashim, please strategize with me and allow me to take this further. And whatever else that I can do for you, let me know.
Thank you,
That's
Mohit.
fantastic, Mohit. Yeah.
Okay, friends. So I think we've spent 1 hour doing this, and it was very, very good. Gaurav, what are your thoughts quickly, if you can share
So again, I agree, this is totally important, and I think a small thing of why a lot of lodges are not looking at this enough is they don't want to admit in the first place that there's something wrong with what they're doing. So I don't know whether it's embarrassment or just greenwashing or even just ignorance, but a lot of them don't want to admit that they're wrong. But I think by admitting that they're doing something wrong is the first step in getting on the right path and going through. And this is a very systematic thing. I mean, how long what issues we've had looking for methods of measuring carbon and everything in Asian Adventures lodges.
Yeah, I think this is fantastic. And then, friends, whoever is here right now, please visit Chambal Safari Lodge, which is about 3 hours from Delhi, and meet RP there. He'd be able to show you around the kind of work he's done. Learn from him, while you're at the lodge, and go on a boat ride, see ghadials. This is a good time for birding as well. Do all of that, and we'll share the links with you on email. We've got your data, and we will send out an email to you tomorrow. And you will have the replay link of this webinar 24 hours later, which you can share with those who are interested. And we will put this on YouTube as well, and we share this link with everyone to repurpose it. Thank you, friends. Thank you, Hashim.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mohit. Thank you, Gaurav.
Wonderful webinar. Thank you. Thank you, friends. Thank you for attending.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Good night. Good night.
Right.